What is up, everybody? This is the chairman of the United States Department of Nerds, where we are for the people, by the people, and of the people.
It's a trap!
All right, welcome back, everybody. Let me introduce you to my co-host tonight. I have from the Pop Break and the Socially Distanced Podcast, Ben Murchison. Welcome back, my friend.
What's going on, man? Thanks for having me back.
Hey, anytime. You are more than welcome, my friend.
I was just telling you, I'll come back just for that intro song. That's all we need.
Dude, that I can't tell everybody. That's probably my favorite thing about it. So like I said, you are from the Socially Distanced Podcast. What are you working on over there right now currently?
Man, I've been busy, but unfortunately with work and not any of the fun stuff, so I haven't gotten a chance to really dig into too much. Written a few like small things that I'm probably going to try to publish as part of like an end of year article. But as of right now, the only show that I'm like really looking forward to that I know I'm going to write and I'm going to make sure I make the time to write it is the Dexter prequel series, and that's
yes.
That's because I'm everybody on the Pop Break and Socially Distance knows I'm obsessed with Sarah Michelle Gellar. So anything she's in, I'm immediately going to do the write-up on.
Yes. I just seen she was coming to a con here.
Yeah, she's at San Diego, I think.
Yeah,
she was just in Brazil. Yeah.
And then I think she was just in Ohio too, as well at the GalaxyCon there, I believe, is where I had seen her just recently.
I need to research and figure out what con I need to go to if she's still doing press, because I would definitely fly just about anywhere.
Yes. But got Black in the house. Appreciate you coming through, bro.
What's up?
So as always, we'll jump into a little cold opening before we do the deep dive into Cobra Kai tonight. And we were talking some fantasy football beforehand, and you had 6 fantasy teams currently going on. 6. Well, how are you managing 6 teams?
Unfortunately, I'm only managing 4 now because 2 of them got eliminated from playoffs. And sadly, I had some rough last weeks of the season. Don't recommend starting Jaden Reed when he only gets 1 target and no catches. That cost me a playoff spot in 2 leagues, unfortunately. But yeah, 4 is much more manageable, and I'll focus on the one that's with this. So the Pop Break League, we've got one that we're in. I was in first place majority of the season. I did lose the last game of the season, so I ended up in this 2 seed. But looking forward to going against all the socially distanced guys. Bill, Amanda, Al, they're all still in the playoffs, so we're about to all duke it out.
Yeah, I forgot y'all had the big one going over there with the Pop Break crew. Yeah, we got one over here too that we do every year on the DFPN and in the smoke pit. And I went from basically last to a clinch playoffs. I think last week.
You just got to get in.
Yeah, dude. I went from, I think, being 0-3 or something like that to winning. I think I've won 8 in a row or something. 9 in a row.
Get hot at the right time. That's what you need. Hopefully, the bye weeks are over, but you just got to worry about being like managing a team that's not playing for anything at the last game of the season when it really matters. But you do what you can do. What's your team name? Is it something funny? You got to pun off one of your players?
No, I literally just name it after myself. Yeah, I think it's like USDN in my name.
I'm especially proud of my socially distanced team name. Well, one other one, I have Jaden Daniels in a lot of leagues because, as we talked about, I'm a Commanders fan. So my team name in one of my leagues is Dan Daniels, which I love that one from the little vine that went really viral for a long time. But in socially distance, I'm the Camerican Psychos because Alvin Kamara is my best player, and so I've got a little reprint of the scene from American Psycho where he's like showing off the Huey in the News, CD case, but it's replaced with
Yes.
Alvin Kamara's picture. So
Nice.
it's
Nice.
that's a good one for me.
All right, man. You ready to jump into this?
Let's
We
talk
got
some Cobra Kai.
Yeah, man. We're on season 6, part 2, which is covering episodes 6 through 10, I believe. Yes, 6 through 10. We got some new character introductions now that we're at the actual tournament. And I think it opens up with all the teams at the Sekai Taike.
Saikai Taikai.
Sekai Taikai. Dude,
You did not practice since the last time we talked, did you?
I practiced it like while I was waiting for you to come on, and I still mispronounced it. So, yeah, just with that. So, all the teams are there, and we see that Kreese, of course, is back. He went to Korea and got him a new Cobra Kai. And then we see a bunch of new teams. And of the new teams, it was the Russian team who really stood out to me because Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, showed up from AEW, which was really cool to see. And then they introduced Lewis's Tan character, Sensei Wolf, the team leader of the Iron Dragons. And we'll discuss their significance when we here in a couple of episodes. Like 2 more episodes, I think, is when we get to that. But because it's really interesting how they ended up there and why they are really ultimately there. So on episode 6, we get with the tournament underway, a betrayal threatens to throw Miyagi-Do off their game, and a dramatic first event unleashes the element of surprise. So the biggest thing here in this episode, the tournament has started. We're actually getting into the actual tournament, and they're actually competing now. What did you think of the whole thing as it all came together, and you finally see what the events were going to be?
Yeah, I like the way that it looks. And I like that the events weren't exactly what I was expecting because I didn't know if they were going to come into it and it would all be like 1v1 fighting, kind of like we've always seen. It's definitely not like that at all. I think the first event is no matter what, just if your team captain
the
goes
Captain's
down, then you're
War.
out. So
It's
that's kind of a
Captain's
cool thing.
War,
You've got
where
to go
everybody
through
was
and protect.
protecting their captain.
Yeah, and so they've got the whole protect the egg strategy that they like to do,
Yep.
obviously. But yeah, things don't exactly go their way in that one. But yeah, I like the way that everything's set up and the way that it's all different.
Yeah.
First episode, you've got a lot of the same like infighting kind of already popping up with, like you said, the betrayal. So Tori obviously showing up for the Cobra Kai team, and
oh yeah, Tori. I forgot about Tori too. Yep.
yeah, and that just messes with Robbie's head like continuously for several episodes.
Because they're at this point they're still dating.
Yeah, I mean they're still dating. I mean almost everybody's dated everybody on the show at some point or another.
Yeah, at this point, yeah.
But yeah, they're in a relationship, and so that throws him off of his game, and that really messes with the Miyagi-Do team as a whole. But yeah, fun events, and it was interesting, like you said too, for them to bring on the Iron Dragons because we kind of come into it thinking like all the other teams are just fodder or whatever, like they don't matter. It's just gonna come down to
because that's what you're used to, right? With this, and we're getting these really strong teams, and not just the Iron Dragons, but like the Russian team and the Irish team, who are
I think they
always
just got a bunch of kids out of a bar and told them, "Hey, we're gonna go."
Dude, that's exactly what it felt like. Like, hey, we're gonna fly, these kids from Ireland over, give them a couple of pints, and put them in some karate gis and let them go. So,
all hopped up on Guinness.
Exactly. But so as we begin this tournament, we get through the first tournament day of the tournament, And then it's kind of like they separate the kids. The kids go out and they kind of do a little tour of the town. And then the adults are kind of there meeting with sponsors and that kind of stuff, because this is a big opportunity for each of the dojos there to get scholarship scholarship money and just money in general for their dojos. And this whole time, Johnny and Daniel, of course, are button heads because Daniel's always worried that Johnny's going to be the one that messes things up for him. But it was not Johnny this time.
Yeah.
Chosen comes back from Japan after, he's all gung-ho, ready to, meet his girl and confess his love to her. And some other guy comes to the door. So naturally that Rhett's Chosen, and he flies back to Barcelona and shows up shit-faced.
Very much so. Just screaming the Miyagi-Do name.
And so at this point, Daniel's just like, well, shit, here I am talking to Johnny about this. And Chosen comes through and shit-faced, hammered, and throwing flower vases everywhere.
Yeah, you would, as you would expect, you would think Johnny would be the one to wreck it. And he kind of, isn't necessarily putting his best foot forward, almost fighting Wolf over the last piece of steak. But yeah, much better comparison to Chosen, who's just a wreck.
Yeah, he that was surprising that it was, of all people, Chosen, who's been like the number one like Miyagi-Do guy for the entire series so far since he made his appearance. And man, he's just shit-faced and upset over a girl, which is something that you would expect from one of the kids. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. I mean, we've seen kind of throughout the show the adults are just as bad as the kids with all the infighting and just lack of maturity almost every single turn. They almost seemingly never make the right decision. But yeah, the Chosen thing's funny to me because my assumption, just based off the way he described the story, to the younger guy is like, a relative or something, or, whatever. Maybe she really wasn't trying to reject him. But he already sent like the drunk phone voicemail thing, and now he shows up. So he's not
Yeah.
exactly doing the right things. But we'll see how his whole piece of it plays out later.
I mean, oh yeah. Yeah, he I don't think he's going to be hurting the rest of the show. But let's jump into the next episode, because this one is really where Daniel kind of keeps going off the deep end of trying to figure out Mr. Miyagi's secret and what really happened at the Seke Take.
I'm just gonna let it go.
Yeah, please, because I'm never gonna. Off air, I could say this right all day, but the moment we're live, man, I'm never gonna say this right.
Every time you're about to say it, just like do a point to me, and I'll be like, Sakai Taikai.
There we go. That's what I'm doing from now on. So Daniel is still searching for clues about Mr. Miyagi's past. And Daniel, of course, takes some bad info. And then there's also Miguel raising doubts about Robbie's focus, who he has not got his head in this game at all.
Got a point. Yeah.
And then Sam sees some bad stuff go down with Sensei Wolf and Axel. Is basically the premise of this. But let's jump into this episode, because Daniel literally gets locked up in a kennel.
In a dog cage.
In a dog kennel. With dogs, of all things.
Yeah.
Like
it got dark really fast.
Yeah, I mean, we've followed this now for sits in, I guess 6.5 seasons, and there's been some dark moments, but nothing like this dark where people are getting kidnapped and put into dog cages.
Yeah, I mean the cab driver tried to warn him. Nobody goes to this part of town. What are you doing?
Yeah,
it
but he
seems
was dead set.
super sketchy.
He was dead set on freaking coming here and got himself kidnapped in doing so, and shoved in a dog kennel.
It's a good thing he bought what did he get? Was it a rosary or something like that off of the kid?
It was just like a charm with Jesus on it.
Yeah, so it's a good thing he bought that. It saved his butt.
It really did. And then he figured out, or he thinks he's figured out who has kidnapped him and blames it on Cobra Kai, of course, because the main antagonist in this scene has a Cobra Kai tattoo that you could tell is really old.
Yeah.
So
It would make sense to blame Grease. Obviously, he's been,
yeah.
large percentage of the problem throughout his life. But yeah, ends up we have a couple twists.
Oh no, yeah. That's episode 8. We'll get into the twists and turns.
Yeah.
But
But at least do you know, like, in the episode, so like all that's going on, he misses the whole like second event.
yeah, the second event.
Yeah, but his team's able to come through.
The
Thanks
team,
to
did they win this one? I thought they were down until like the last like 3 events or something.
maybe I can't remember if it was that one. I don't remember which one it was. The platform like competition piece.
I want to
That's
say
the one.
that's the one that helped put them toward the top, and I think that was the second to last episode, I think.
I feel like Johnny rallied them by saying basically like you should take the best parts of both like dojos or whatever, and helps them get like one win while Danny's gone. Danny
Yeah,
Russo's
so
gone.
this might have been it. This might have been the one win
Yeah.
in the early stages to kind of keep them in the tournament.
Yeah, it wasn't flawless because obviously like Robbie still sucks because every single time he's like fighting well,
Yeah.
and then for some reason he just wants
Tori
to stare at Tori, and then he just loses focus and gets
takes
kicked in
an
the face or
L.
whatever.
Takes an
Yeah,
L. Oh, we did
definitely.
miss the part where he lost the rooms in a bet with Quan from Cobra Kai
Yeah,
in the first episode there. Because
yeah,
I think
man.
Quan kind of like suckered him into taking that bet, and then all the rest of his team was like, "Yeah, you got this."
Yeah,
No, Quan turns
Quan's
out had some ups.
he's still the coolest person there in my opinion, even with the new guys coming in. Quan's still the badass, and
Oh yeah, Quan is the new Johnny in my opinion
yeah,
at
it
this point.
feels it. The only thing that was a little weird for me is like I wanted him to be like the biggest badass, and he still has like his moments or whatever. But when they have the the Iron Dragons, like Axel seems like this just
That
machine
dude's
that
a
nobody can touch.
freaking beast of a dude.
So when you see him kind of take down Quan pretty easily, it's like okay, I don't know what to think anymore. Like Quan's not even the biggest threat, but he's a
Exactly.
yeah.
And Assel's just manhandling Quan
Yeah,
like he was a rag doll.
nobody touches him. So even though he's basically mute, he barely talks, but he's just
Yeah.
has a lot of like death stares and just like I
It's
don't know.
a weird dynamic with him, and I think in part 3, I think we get a little bit more of a dive into why he is that way. I mean, we see some of it in this episode because we do see Sensei Wolf in him training, and Sensei Wolf is just going to town on this poor guy.
Yeah,
So, and I
yeah,
mean, we still aren't like, I'm guessing these kids are 18 years old
yeah. I would imagine
in the
18.
show.
Yeah,
So, I mean, this is basically blood sport for teenagers.
I mean essentially, yeah. I mean some of them are younger than that, I guess too, because they're from
What's the
different grades.
tournament's name?
Taikai, but maybe
Yeah,
Bloodsport.
it's blood sport for teenagers.
Yeah,
This is the Kumite people.
yeah. But yeah, I mean it's it's kind of cool to see different people introduce this late in the game, but then I kind of almost wish that it had focused on just like the Cobra Kai and getting to see Quan more so. But
Yeah, because to be fair to everybody on this show, Zara,
yeah,
her name is Raina Vallandigham is her real name. She plays Zara Malik, and she is the badass of the show. She stole the show. This season, this part of the season belonged to her. It was her show.
yeah, she's obviously the best like girl fighter there, from what you can kind of see, and and she's like a social media mogul. So
Yeah,
like
yeah,
yeah, she's the stereotypical like mean girl kind of making like snide comments or whatever. But you knew Tori, if anybody was going to be the one to probably try to put her in her place when it came
oh
down to
yeah,
it. So yeah, she's fun to watch. So I mean, you get 3 cool characters to kind of to watch. It's just there's so many people on this show and so many kids, and like they have to kind of make up. We'll get to it too, but like they have to almost make up excuses to go back, to the hometown to kind of see some of these other characters and bring some of them
yeah.
back in because there's just too many people, just way too many people.
It was how do I it was cool that I didn't behind this tournament being like the tournament of tournament for these guys after the the hometown, whatever, the All Valley
All
tournament.
Valleys, yeah.
So it was kind of cool to see a different, like, hey, you win this, you also have this chance of going to this bigger tournament in Europe or wherever is hosting it, because you never know who's going to host it. But it was definitely interesting. And of course, in this episode, Daniel and Johnny are still butting heads over, Daniel basically missing the whole day. And
Yeah, I mean he's obsessed with Miyagi, which you can kind of get, but at the same
I
time too,
mean,
as an adult, you should focus on the task at hand and not go running off and leaving your kids behind. But
Mr. Miyagi was his childhood. That was basically his father figure growing up. So, I
for sure,
mean, I
I would just
understand it to some degree, but I'm like, dude, your kid is literally
literally, yeah,
the female captain for your team. And
yeah.
you just left her high and dry. Like,
I
hey,
mean,
I'll be back in an hour.
tournament's only a couple days, right? I'm pretty sure you can go meet with this mysterious, person that you need to meet with and do some research after the
I'm
fact.
like, dude, you live in sunny California. You own a car dealership.
Yeah,
You ain't hurting. You can stay a couple extra days in Europe if you want to.
for sure.
All right, dude. Let's hit up episode 8, Snakes on a Plane. So we get the personal crisis shakes Miguel and Johnny. Chosen and a rival sensei team up to find your students, but discover something else instead.
What do they discover?
Oh, we're going to get into that, buddy.
Yeah.
But so at this point, this is the 3rd episode. So we were due for a bad to happen, but we get 2 bads and a right. But so Miguel's mom and Johnny's girlfriend, same people, by the way. What's her name? Carmen.
Yeah.
Carmen is currently preggers with Johnny's baby. And they get a message saying, hey, your mom's in the hospital. You need to get home because, there's something with the baby. So immediately, Miguel and Johnny are, boom, on a plane, gone. And now they have to replace Miguel. So they reach out to... No, really not. It took some convincing to get Kenny
yeah,
on the plane. I mean, it took Daniel's wife and her son both going to visit him and getting him to fly to Spain and join in the tournament. And of course, Kenny, which I don't blame him. I've been like, no, you're on your own after I shit myself in the in the finale of part 1, or not the finale, but I think it was
first
like the
part of
4th
6
episode.
or something. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm just like, he's like, no. So, what's her name? What's his wife's name? Amanda. And his son's name is Anthony. Yep.
Yeah.
They go to his house and convince him. And he's and Anthony, in all of his infinite wisdom, is like, hey, dude, what do I gotta do? Shit myself? Okay, cool.
Yeah, a weird move considering he wasn't even the person responsible.
Exactly. But Kenny wasn't going to hear that, man. Kenny was like, no, dude, you caused me to shit myself. It's your fault. And then, of course, his mom's like, oh, you've been bullying people? That's that ass when we get home.
Yeah. I mean, it brings about, like, obviously we know, like, Devin was the one that was actually responsible for it. So she's, at the same time, like, built up with all this guilt, like, while she's in the tournament.
Yeah.
And she's not performing well. And so I think in her mind, she's like, yeah, I wasn't ready to actually be a part of this tournament. I took somebody's spot that should have been here. So she's feeling bad. So yeah, it's a lot of pressure on her. Like, she's going through a lot, obviously, with this. So it at least gives her a chance when Kenny gets there to, try to apologize in person. And he's already kind of over it by the time he gets there because it's a long flight.
Yeah, dude. That is from California to Spain. Yeah, that's a good days of traveling right there, and you're not getting that in a direct flight.
Which I'm a little concerned for. I don't know who's paying for the flights. Maybe the tournament paid for it. I don't know, but like, I don't think Johnny can afford to fly back and then fly back again.
And I'm guessing that was out of Daniel's paycheck right there.
Yeah, maybe LaRusso gave him a little holiday bonus from the dealership if he's still employed there. I don't know.
God, is he? He kind
I
of
can't
is. He
remember if
kind
he's
of
still
isn't.
technically employed.
But it's the little Russos. They're good people. Of course, they're gonna help him out. With the
Yeah.
kids being friends and all. But so Miguel and Johnny are on the plane, and of course, Johnny being Johnny and Miguel being Miguel, they're gonna butt heads on the way over, which leads them to butt heads with the passenger, a drunk passenger, nonetheless.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know, like, this wasn't real life, because if a passenger was that drunk on a plane, he wouldn't have got on the plane these days.
Yeah, probably would have been, screened out by somebody. A flight attendant would have gotten him pretty early, but definitely wouldn't be serving any extra drinks, that's for sure. But Johnny should probably be able to relate. Like he's been the drunk guy in a bad
Oh yeah,
situation before. But he's obviously on, high alert right now and stressed to the
yeah, he
max. So
is.
he's
Yeah, like I couldn't even imagine what he was going through in that moment, and
yeah.
Miguel as well. With that
You
being
can't
his
do anything.
mother,
You're going there. You're on a plane, but like you're literally just having to sit with your thoughts for however long that flight is.
18 plus
Expecting the
hours.
worst. Yeah.
Yeah, but so
But they
that's
do it. They get through it.
they
Yeah.
do. They do. They get there in time, which was that, and then his mom's like, "What the fuck are y'all doing here? Get your
Yeah. Carmen
asses
ends up
back on the
being
plane."
okay.
Yeah,
Maybe
she's
they
like,
needed a little bit more dialogue.
"Yeah." It's like, get back on the plane and go finish this. But,
Yeah. Hit
while
him
all
with
that's
the win
taking
one for the
place,
Gipper speech.
yep, exactly. It's not Cobra Kai or any other karate movie until you get one of those
Yeah.
speeches.
Don't come back without a trophy, man.
Yeah, come back a winner, or come back on your shield.
Yeah. Hey, we get a little Sparta at the end of this
E-
thing.
Exactly. Oh yeah, yeah. That's going to be a fun one to talk about when we get there. So let's talk about Chosen and what's her name?
Kim, I think. Pretty
Is
sure
it
it's Kim.
Kim?
Yeah, Master Kim.
Uh, yep, Kim Dae Yoon,
There we go.
who is played by Alicia Hannah Kim, who is actually really a Korean actress.
Yeah, I really like her.
I do too. She doesn't show up in a lot of stuff, but when she does show up, it's like immediate impact.
Yeah, and she's not like, I mean, she's been on the show for a while. She's never dipped too hard into the villain stance. Like she's kind of towing the line, I guess, a lot. But then, she shows like a lot lighter side of herself, obviously, with,
But
this.
she's away from her grandfather in this, so that helps
Yeah,
it out a
that
lot.
helps a lot, true. And she's like with Crease, but like is fully aware that Crease is kind of,
Is a scumbag.
yeah,
She
a little bit
fully
of a psycho.
knows. Yeah, and she knew that from the start, and she really couldn't understand why her grandfather would agree to that. So that's really like her biggest thing is like, I have to keep these kids safe from Crease, then also keep everybody else safe from Crease as well.
Yeah.
But her and Chosen, the kids sneak out to go partying like kids will do when
As they do. When the legal drinking age is 18.
yep. In the entirety of Europe, if you can see above the bar, you are more than happy to have
Yeah.
a pint. So they seek out finding their children's, because you put Cobra Kai and Miyagi Do together, shit's gonna get violent and get violent fast.
And you don't really want that happening in a foreign country because for some
No,
reason nobody seems to get in much trouble when they're at home in the valley, but I don't think anybody else in another
oh
country is going
no,
to
and
take as
plus they could
lightly.
lose their spot in the.
Sakai Taikai.
Thank you, Ben. That would
That's
have
what I
been
do.
tragic to lose their spot in the.
Sakai Taikai.
Or point. We make a great team, Ben.
Yes, sir.
But so they find their kids and they're safe and they get them home, but then they get into a fight themselves. As they probably do. So they get into their little bar fight, but they track down their students, and then there is let's call it an excursion on the beach.
Yep.
And then once again in the morning, there was another excursion on the beach, and then followed by coffee.
Right. And then the whole classic conversation of like, this was a mistake. We can never do this again. We're here for the tournament. Everybody comes to their senses pretty quick.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
you know,
but good for Chosen and Kim. I think they make a nice nice little couple in the moment.
they were a great team while it lasted, and we also see them team up again later. So
Yeah,
it was kind of like yeah, this is awkward, but hey, maybe not. We'll see where it goes. It also, as we get further into this episode and Daniel's unraveling some more mysteries of Mr. Miyagi, but in doing so, I think they played this episode where they played the prank on Kreese and they steal his dagger.
yeah. At some point, yeah.
Can't
So you
remember
got
I think it was this episode.
it's either that or it's in the finale. Essentially, they try to go through and make it seem, like it was. Well, no, we definitely haven't gotten there because we haven't even talked about the large elephant in the spa yet.
Well, yeah, that's where we're leading up to right now is the big
Yeah,
elephant in the spa,
yeah.
who, by the way, seems to never be able to stay in jail.
Nobody does. That's the
Yeah.
thing. I think Robbie spent more time in juvenile detention than any of these adults have spent, like in an actual jail cell for attempted murder. So,
This is a true point. Poor Robbie, man. Raw deals all around. And oh, by the way, his dad is Johnny Lawrence.
yeah, I mean, also,
Yeah.
yeah, a little tough to
I
get
mean,
by.
and oh, by the way, Johnny is engaged to Carmen, who is Miguel's mom.
Yeah, and then yeah, you've got the tension obviously that's come from the fact that Robbie can't keep his head on the tournament. So you got Miguel basically saying that he should be, the leader. So he should be the leader. Have the coolest headband and be the one leading them guys so they can go
The
through and
fucking
actually try to
coolest
win the tournament.
headband.
Yeah, but Robbie's not giving it up at the time. But I don't know. I definitely see Miguel's point right before, everything happens with Carmen. He has to leave anyway. He
Yep.
was essentially saying, like, either get your head in this or, like, turn over the responsibility because you're not helping us, which he definitely wasn't. So I think everybody kind of gets recentered, obviously, by the time we get towards the last fight. But yeah, just a lot of complications and a lot of tensions all around. It's the same for the most part. It's kind of the same recycled infighting that happens throughout every season. It
Yep.
just nothing really stays buried. It's kind of like everybody smooths it over enough to like make it cool, to be around
Yeah,
each
to
other
get
for
through
5 minutes. But
the Nets big thing.
yeah, but as soon as
But
things goes bad again, they start turning on each other
oh
again and
yeah,
bringing up the
like
same
oh, you
stuff.
remember that one time? Yeah.
Yeah. Where you kicked me off of a staircase and almost killed me. Yes, I remember that pretty well.
But let's address the elephant in the room. So this is the episode where Silver makes his big return to the series, and of all places we had to see him was in a jacuzzi with his goons.
Smoking a cigar as always.
Yep. And we learned that Sensei Wolf and the other Asian guy with the Cobra Kai tattoo
Yep.
is a part of his crew.
They
So that's
kidnapped
when,
Daniel.
yep.
They're behind kind of everything at this point.
Everything that's bad that's happened up until this point has been Kreese and Kreese's master plan to ruin Miyagi-Do and Cobra Kai. Because he can't just let it lie, and nor can he stay in jail.
Yeah, Silver's obviously against Kreese, and he's against Daniel, and he's against Johnny. He's just against everybody. It's kind of, in his mind, sort of destroyed his life to an extent, but yeah, nothing to lose. Definitely a dangerous guy. Still has means, has money to go through, and he was able to get, I think, what was it?
Iron Dragons is why he bought that dojo.
Yeah, he bought the dojo because was it Marco's the what's the trainer, or not the trainer, the
Sensei Wolf.
Sensei Wolf. So yeah, he essentially had lost his dojo, so he offered
Yep.
basically go embarrass these kids at this tournament, and I'll give you your dojo back. So struck up a deal with them. Couldn't have two nicer people joining forces.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he is Scorpion's grandson, great grandson after all.
This is true. Yeah.
All right, that's my Mortal Kombat reference. I won't do it again. I had to get it in there somewhere, and that was a good spot, I thought.
I like him in that. Yeah.
I like. Yeah,
He's actually good. He was in another show. I'll have to look it up. It was on like Netflix, I think. They had like 2 or 3 seasons, or maybe it was movies even. He's in something else essentially that
I have to look it up. That's because the first thing I ever seen him in was the Mortal Kombat movie.
Yeah, I think that was where I saw him first too. But Oh, what was it? I'm gonna pull it up right now because I got IMDb, and IMDb is awesome. Wu Assassins. So he's
Okay,
in that.
yeah, I did see
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So those there's like a series, and then the movies I think too. So yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, that was actually pretty good. Like it was better than it should have been.
Right. Yeah. But
All right.
yeah, a lot of bad guys working together, and now it's kind of turns everything on its head again because you've got now Kreese is reeling a little bit because he was supposed to be the biggest asshole in the room, and now he's not even
And
like
now he's not even like the biggest one,
he's
period.
barely relevant at this point.
Exactly. Now it's like, okay, are we going to get a team up with Cobra Kai and Miyagi-Do to take down Kreese once and for all, or what are we going to get here? Because that's
Yeah.
how it feels for a moment there, where Kreese and Daniel are both like, "What in the hell?"
Yeah.
But it was Stingray's fault that Silver didn't spend a day in jail.
Yeah. Look at old Stingray.
Good old Stingray, who I think we
Yeah.
see briefly in the. No, that was
Uh,
toward the end of.
it was the first part. It was the very first episode, I think, of
Yeah,
part 6. Essentially,
when he
he's
had the
like
fake Cobra Kai in the
he's
woods.
training Cobra Kai with a bunch of like 7-year-olds in the woods.
Yeah. So let's jump into episode 9, Blood In, Blood Out. And this is basically the elimination round of the tournament and who will actually go home, Miyagi-Do or Cobra Kai. And then we finally learn the truth that kind of like puts Daniel in a bad spot, essentially.
Yeah.
Because he I think he knew, but he didn't know the real extent of kind of what happened with Mr. Miyagi in the tournament. So let's jump into this one, man. So in this episode, this episode actually is where we learned about how Silver got out of jail and how he met Sensei Wolf.
Yeah.
And how he bought the dojo. And the biggest thing was just crushing Miyagi-Do and Cobra Kai. And this is when Silver was meeting with his lawyer, who said the only reason this is where we learned it was Stingray's fault that Silver isn't in jail no more. Essentially, I think what happened, if I remember right, is Silver paid off Stingray. And that's how he ended up. Or Stingray was just not a reliable source.
Yeah, might not have been a credible witness.
Yeah, credible witness. Yes,
Yeah.
because I mean, like, dude, you're fighting with teenagers, dude. Where do you like?
Can't imagine.
But so this was when the tag team tournament with and where Cobra Kai gets knocked out of the tournament
Yeah.
I think it was toward the end of the episode.
Yeah, another cool format for
it really
tournament.
was.
Yeah.
And then there was, I think it was in episode 8 or no, it was the one previous. It was 7, where it was the balance and beam where they were balanced on the.
They just couldn't fall off the beam.
Yeah, I thought that was a really cool one too.
Yeah, the platform might have been my favorite just because elevated and essentially, I think you're 2v2, and then when somebody gets knocked off, somebody else can kind of go up and rejoin and start the fight.
It started out as a 2v2. Yeah, that was in episode 10, I believe it was. Yeah. But so Cobra Kai gets eliminated, and we're thinking, all right, cool. Miyagi-Do is still in the tournament. They're good to go. They don't have to worry about Cobra Kai. Their biggest threat at this point is still the Iron Dragons.
Yeah, everybody's biggest threat because they're not losing at all.
No, there's no way. I mean, they got the best male-female fighter, period, in the tournament. And also we learn here is that Kreese actually gave Daniel the kind of like the damning information, if you will, that Mr. Miyagi did in fact kill his opponent in the tournament, and actually gave him the reference from the actual tournament archives.
Yeah, Silver's like trying to essentially get in everybody's head. So he tried it with Kenny, who got brought into the tournament. try to see if like basically tell him like nobody's cared about you this entire time. They didn't even want you here. Like, why don't you fight for us instead? Kenny flipped in the bird, which was cool.
When he
There
won
was
when he won that round in the
yeah,
tag
there
team
was
tournament, yeah.
and there was the whole like it was like a weird piece of the fight too, where like when Kenny gets there and like Dimitri plants in everybody's head that he must have been like a plant by Silver once they found out that he was there
Of course,
because it was just
Dimitri being Dimitri, man.
Dimitri might be my least favorite character at this
Dude, of
point.
everybody here, like
Yeah,
Dimitri
he's
is
bad.
like, why are you here, dude?
Yeah, probably. He's obviously one of the lesser fighters of the group there. Yeah, and then just almost messes things up. But luckily, Robbie didn't listen to him and was able to go through and help them get Cobra Kai eliminated, thanks to Kenny coming through in the clutch and fighting
Definitely came
well.
through in the clutch.
Yeah, but you're right. So Silver tries to get into Daniel's head by telling him essentially that Mr. Miyagi killed somebody in the tournament, which kind of I think that's where our heads were probably at when you had the blood on
The
the headband,
headband,
and
yeah.
you kind of maybe thought that it was going to go that way, especially after like the weird dream that Daniel had. Where
Yeah,
he's like,
that's the lead in of episode 10, I believe.
yeah,
But yeah, Daniel does go to Gunter, who is the head of the
Saikai Taikai, sorry.
There we go.
Also the former head coach of the Mighty Ducks opponent in the Olympics, I think.
Dude, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
was trying to remember where I like knew him from because I was like super familiar face. And then yeah, I think he was like Iceland's coach.
He was Iceland's coach. You were, yeah. Dude. Yep. Yeah. That is, dude, now I gotta go watch Mighty Ducks.
Yeah, I mean,
I hadn't even
never a
thought
bad
about the
time.
Mighty Ducks in a long time. Now I gotta watch it, man. Thanks. But Gunther does, say, hey, yeah, this is authentic. This did happen, but it hasn't happened basically since then.
Yeah, it used to be a little bit more dangerous, less regulated, I guess.
Yeah.
Less people
And
die.
they added, I mean, last it's the Kumite for teenagers.
Yeah. It is still weird that they would have like a bunch of underage kids like fighting in this tournament, even people
Yeah.
died, I guess. But I suppose people were going off to fight wars at 18, so I mean, still can, but I guess you could have
I
them in
mean,
the ring
yeah,
killing
even
each other.
Mr. Miyagi served. I mean, that's
Yeah,
how he got out of Okinawa, went to the U.S., immediately enlisted, and went to war. So, I mean,
yeah, got it. Maybe that prompted him to enlist. I'm not sure, like the timeline essentially, but
I think it was the way it seems to me is that immediately after this tournament is when he left Okinawa and went to the U.S. and immediately like enlisted.
yeah.
It's kind of how it plays off because we know he comes back and he has the Botson. He was at the Botson gym for a little bit, and then he opened up Miyagi.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
Miyagi-Do, yeah. Yeah, just basically running away from his past essentially, and then never talking about it ever again.
yeah. And to me, that's like, dude, something tragic like that happens to you, yeah. Because I'm sure it's Mr. Miyagi. I don't think he set out to intentionally kill old dude in the tournament. So
Yeah.
there's still more to learn. At some point, hopefully in the next part 3. But we're on episode 10, and the name of it is Yun Jang Do. And Daniel and Johnny are using Barcelona as a training ground for their captains because the last round is the captain's battle. And then a cheap shot in the televised semifinal spark a brawl to end all brawls. I mean, we've seen some brawls in the All Valley tournament, in school, in the mall.
The school was epic.
Yeah, the school brawl was probably the best one. But so at the start of this, Johnny opens up, and not Johnny, but Daniel opens up, and he is dreaming that he is the fighter fighting Mr. Miyagi in the
Saikai Taikai.
And they're basically chanting Miyagi, and Miyagi delivers the final blow. But he didn't realize that blow was going to be the one that killed, in this case, Daniel in his dreams.
He didn't hit him with one of those honk.
He didn't do the honk like Daniel did in Okinawa in the tournament. But also at this time, we learn when, we're seeing them all kind of meeting up before the final tournament. And then Gunter comes out and is like, hey, I have an announcement to make. And he announces that basically the Russian team was using PEDs and Cobra Kai is back in the tournament now because they were the next to, team with that was basically had the most points. So they were immediately like eligible to be in the tournament still.
Yep.
So
yay. Cobra Kai back in the mix.
So just as soon as we think, oh, great, it's kind of weird, but Cobra Kai's out, which I'm like, the name of the show was Cobra Kai. So, okay, but, Miyagi-Do's still in this. We're good to go. The main guys are there. Johnny and Daniel are still in this. There's still a chance that Miyagi-Do can pull this out. But no, those pesky Russians and their doping scandals. So, which is funny because you have Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, who, by the way, is a real dentist, involved in a PED scandal. Well, and I mean performance enhancing drugs, y'all, not the other thing. So, naturally, those coaches are going to be pissed, like, oh, no, we're not. We're not doping. We're not doing this and that. But
they were very pissed.
Yeah, either way, they're dones. They're donesy. So now we move into the captain's tournament. And the captains basically battle it out until there's a winner.
Yeah.
I can't remember if it was I think it was like a true on bracket style where these captains face these captains, and these captains in the final four type of deal.
Yeah, I think that's the idea. And of course, unfortunately for Robbie, he draws basically the Khal Drogo of this thing. Gets Axel in the first round. So.
Yes, of the Iron Dragons, man. He basically gets it's definitely a rocky story with this one because he was like double the size of him. Yeah.
And we should mention, I guess, in the context too, as this is going on, like we've got a little bit of Axel's backstory from essentially Sam, like seeing him get essentially beat on by his sensei, but then he kind of immediately develops a crush, for Sam because she shows like any interest in him whatsoever, like shows a little empathy.
Yeah, I mean, she did feel sympathy and empathy toward him because she had seen,
essentially what he was
Sensei
dealing with.
Wolf, beating on him. So we do get some backstory there, and we also get we never really get anything on Vala or Zara. I'm sorry, her name is Zara.
Yeah. So far, she's got a great
social media star and
TikTok star. Yeah,
she has a thing for Robbie.
Yeah, I think either has a thing for Robbie or just wanted to get at Tori. Probably more so get at Tori.
Yeah.
With tried to make it look like they were hooking up. Which Tori did catch them kissing in the hallway, so that obviously causes some tension at this point. So
and I think that dude was like, that dude was hammered. There's no way he.
Yeah, I mean he was on rum and cokes after he thought
double
that he
rum
saw
and cokes.
Double rum and cokes. Yeah, you're right. Essentially, because there was a little bit of tension obviously between him and Tori, and then of course Cobra Kai is getting in his head. So you got that tension going on. You've got and that's Quan essentially trying to get into his head there. And then you've got the tension going on because Axel essentially has a thing for Sam, and then it's not until like right at the end there that Miguel even finds out that whole thing happens. So he's like, "The hell did this come from? And why is he looking at me weird?" So you got a lot of tensions boiling over at the same time that you've got Kreese essentially on a mission at this point where it looks like he just wants to straight up murder. He wants to murder Silver. He's not going to wait any longer.
To murder Silver, that's without a doubt. Like that was his intent. But before any of that can happen, the Russian coach blindsides Gunter with an attack and knocks him cold out, like clean out, and that leads us to the brawl of all brawls.
Yeah, Gunter was trying to, keep control because I think Quan kind of cheap shot at Robbie in the ribs.
He did, yep.
Robbie was, for the most part, not. He was trying to hold his own in his initial fight. But he was mostly just playing defense. He couldn't really get any kicks in, and then he gets kind of slung into the Quan, and Quan gives him like a rib punch or something, and then
cheap shots him.
Miguel comes to try to defend him, and then of course you get Axel stepping in because he's like, I don't like you because you're with Sam, and then just everybody starts kicking the shit out of everybody. Gunther gets knocked unconscious, and there's no cooler heads prevailing. No adults are able to control the situation because everybody's trying to.
The adults were in on it.
Yeah, I mean they were. They were fighting, the other adults while the kids were fighting the kids. So it's insane. It goes on for the majority of the episode. It feels
it's probably a 15-minute brawl, I think.
Yeah, and it's all being like live streamed because it's the finale of the tournament. So everybody's watching this go off at home.
Like the entirety of the rest of Miyagi-Do is basically sitting at Daniel LaRusso's house watching this whole thing take place, and they're all into it. They're like, "Oh, damn, yeah."
Nobody can cut the stream. It gets crazy, but you get to see some alliances form again, like Sam and Tori are together trying to defend each other.
And then you also see Chosen and Master Kim team up again, and then you see I think Johnny, it was Master Kim.
Daniel are obviously trying to help each other out. I'm trying to remember now because it's been a minute, but I know Kreese essentially is fighting Silver.
So Kreese is actually no, Johnny left Daniel and tracked down Silver because Silver's already at this point kind of beat Kreese, and the dagger is now because Kreese had the dagger, and the dagger has been knocked out, and it's rolled into the tournament area where everybody else is basically brawling.
Yeah, not good to have a weapon on the floor amongst a bunch of hot-headed teenagers.
No, and they've proven hot-headed. I mean, the Irish were the first ones. As soon as Gunther went down, the Irish were like, we just finished a pint. It's time to brawl.
A lot of stereotypes coming into play here, but of course, it's the Irish. They're the first ones to just say, fuck it. Yeah, I'd love to fight.
Yeah. I mean, they were looking for a fight, and
everybody was pissed that they got eliminated. Like, I don't know why they had the teams that had already been beaten, even there.
Yeah,
probably shouldn't have been around anymore.
Like, why were they even still there? I thought because Cobra Kai was getting ready. They had their luggage. They were getting ready to leave.
Yeah.
But then you see we're in the finals in the captain's battle, and it's everybody's there. What are y'all doing there?
I guess all the other teams were allowed to still be there, but you probably don't want to have them just circling around the mats. You're just looking for something bad to happen. So, that's exactly what goes down.
And I think that'll be a new rule in the next year's.
Stay in the stands. We need some plexiglass in between you and the actual.
Exactly. But so this fight, I mean, it was literally the majority of the episode, and we do see Johnny finally get his hands on Silver, and the entire time, I mean, the kids are brawling. I think Quan turns his attention to Axel. At this point, Axel and Quan are kind of going at it, and they're fighting. And as we had mentioned earlier, the dagger did roll into the tournament area, and Axel had thrown Quan, I believe.
Yeah, I think he threw Quan. Basically, he got knocked down. I remember Quan got knocked to the floor right next to the camera. So his face is right in the camera that everybody's watching, and you can just see in his eyes, he gets, pissed off. He's overwhelmed.
He was humiliated, dude.
He's humiliated. He's already lost to, Robbie before. And then, he was already angry. And then, unfortunately, he's the one to pick up the dagger at that point.
Yep. So the dagger is now in play, and he has every intention of shanking, I guess. Axel is who his target was still.
Yeah. Essentially goes at him, and they're fighting, and it's kind of that classic thing where you see Daniel is trying to he sees what's happening, so he's trying to get over there, but can't get everybody out of his way fast enough.
It wasn't just Daniel. It seemed like there was other people who were trying to get there as well, but Daniel, I think, was the main one because I thought it was going to end up being Daniel.
Yeah. Oh, you thought Daniel was going to be the one to get stabbed?
Yeah, I mean, at this point. Daniel's head has not been completely focused and in the game, period. So I'm it's going to end up being Daniel, and Johnny wasn't there to have his back, and none of the other, coaches are going to have his back, because why would they? They're fighting, too busy fighting each other.
Yeah.
But Axel does end up, I want to say it was like a fucking round kick or some shit when Quan jumped to hit him.
Yeah, so as they kind of collide, like you just hear like kind of a scream, and you're not really sure like who got stabbed or essentially like what happened exactly. But then of course you see
the camera,
Quan.
of course, goes right to it, and
Yeah.
he's laying down on his face, on his stomach, and you can't see the dagger, but you can see his hand is underneath him. So you're like, oh damn, did he land on this, or because at that point you really didn't know, like, did he drop it? Did something else happen? Did Axel just happen to kick him so hard it knocked him out? You really don't know until you see the pool of blood, and Johnny, of course, is not Johnny. I'm sorry. Daniel. Yeah. Is kind of like, oh shit. And then finally at this point, Gunter is back up.
He's conscious.
He's yelling for him to cut the feed for like, 5 minutes, I guess. But he did get his revenge on the Russian coach.
Yeah.
He did return the favor. So,
yeah,
but we did lose Quan in the tournament.
Yeah.
And this is the first one since, I think, the guy that Miyagi accidentally killed.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the tragedy.
That's how they made it seem.
Like, like it hasn't happened. It doesn't happen anymore. It used to be different, but then of course in this one, we lose somebody, which is, I think, as much violence as kind of the show's had, and like there's been some absurd fights, and people always end up in the hospital and whatnot. Like nobody's actually lost their life before. So this is, definitely like a tragedy. Quan got kind of molded a little bit, or a lot of it by Kreese.
Kreese put it into his head, man.
He manipulated him a lot. So like, I'm sure Quan had some redeeming qualities, misunderstood like everybody else, could have come around. But
he was the male version of Tori.
Yeah. I think so too. He just had like a hot-headed moment, lost his cool, was making a bad decision, and unfortunately pays for it with, we will assume his life. I mean, I guess, nobody seemed rushing over to try to help him, but I mean, that could have been the dramatic piece.
And it does, the show does, like, that was it. It was that moment.
Cut the feed out. Yeah.
All the kids that are still in California at the LaRusso house are all kind of like stunned, but then it just cuts, and that's when the season comes to a close. And now we're, waiting for part 3 to come out to go, okay,
is he still alive?
Is he alive? Were they able to save him? Because, I mean, they didn't quite, I don't think they really showed it penetrating him. He was just kind of laying there.
Nobody was really rushing over to help. They were kind of
Daniel was trying to get there. That was the last thing we really seen, was Daniel trying to prevent this from happening.
Yeah.
So
it'll be interesting to see where they try to go from here, because, I mean, can you still have the tournament from that point? There's just been like complete and utter chaos. Did they just like cancel the rest of it, and
because, I mean, we're in the middle. Were we in the finals?
It's the finals. It's the captain's battle.
Yeah,
it was the very first fight of the captain's battle. So
okay, that's right.
A lot of it to go.
Yeah, so it's we still got the men's and women's captain's battle. So okay,
yeah,
I couldn't like the show come out November 15th, I think it was the release, and I know I was trying to like get us all together to do it like the week or two after, and we were all just like swamped with everything.
Yeah.
Which is where Rob is tonight. Yeah. Rob was trying to complete a move in the middle of all this as well. So he's like, dude, I'm still trying to get settled. I'm just like, dude, it's all good, man. We'll get you next time, man.
Yeah.
So hopefully by the time part 3 rolls around, which is rumored for February 2025. Of course, Netflix has pulled that information off their website and off of Netflix as well. They were just like, oh no, we were just kidding. It's not going to be February 2025. So
yeah, see, they originally had February 13th as the first episode release. But
yep.
Who knows when they do it? And I know they've got the movie too that they're pushing probably after the conclusion. So
yep, that was so We're probably concluding February, or it'll finish in March, I guess, 2025. The writers have promised no cliffhangers whatsoever. This is it.
Yeah.
They're done. And then we get Karate Kid Legends with Ralph Macchio, of course, and Jackie Chan. Now, that's scheduled May 30th of 2025. But I'm not sure of how much time between this ending and Karate Kid Legends happening. I don't know that time frame. Is it a year? Is it 3 years, 6 years? Because it would make sense if they're bringing Ralph Macchio into this as Daniel LaRusso, that his kids are no longer living at home and their own people, because why would he be coaching another kid? You know what I'm saying?
True. Yeah, and I don't think at least they haven't announced any other cast is going to be like included. It's kind of completely separate. But yeah, then that's in May, so it's not long after the show ends. But yeah, you could come up with any time frame you want for how much time.
Yeah, you can say, oh, it's 6 years later or what have you.
Which, I mean, they're already 18-ish or whatever for the most part. So, I mean, they're all.
I mean, the only other kid that, Daniel would have his son who's in high school as well. But I think they skip it ahead where his son's out of school at this point. That's what would make sense. But let's jump into final shots and thoughts. Ben, what's your final thoughts on Cobra Kai, bro?
I mean, it stayed true to like kind of its tone the entire way through. It's it's absurd what these kids get away with, and like the violent fights that they have, and like just I guess, I mean, it's very real, I suppose, within young people, probably forever, just making immature choices and whatnot. It's just so much that all these kids happen to know karate, so it plays out more violently than most. But yeah, I mean, the tone's always been fun. You kind of just let the absurdity of it, roll off of you and just enjoy it and soak it up. And this last, portion of it.
That's been the perfect part about this, right? You just turn it off and just let these little delinquents do their thing, man.
Yeah, I mean,
and it has been very much that throwback that you wanted.
Yeah, I think, I mean, it's evolved a lot, I think, from the first season, when it was like YouTube still technically.
First 2
probably
seasons for YouTube.
Lower budget, like smaller number of cast members and whatnot. It just kind of gradually got bigger and bigger as it went along. But yeah, I mean, we've talked about it. The adults are just as immature as the kids. Everybody's got the same, feuds coming back all the time. None of these villains can ever find themselves in jail for very long. So
nope.
It's exactly what it's always been, and it's always been fun. So I'm happy, with what we got with this past, part, and I'm excited to see what they do with part 3 to wrap it up. Do they stay? Do they stay there? Do they have the tournament, or does that get called off? And it's just like, we got to go back to our roots, back to the All Valley tournament again for Cobra Kai and Miyagi-Do to square off one last time. Or like, where do we take it from here? So
no, it's going to be definitely interesting to see what happens when part 3 rolls out. But again, like I said, the writers have said, this is it. We're done. And I've never known Netflix to do anything for a season 7. So this is the first show that I can think of off the top of my head that got a season 6, or the first one to get a part 5 for that matter, season 5.
Yeah, I mean, it's super long running, and it's it's at least like remained quality the whole time, and they don't have like an insane amount of time in between the seasons coming out to forget everything that's going on. Luckily, it's not like a Stranger Things situation or whatever where
dude,
I can't even recall what happened last on that one. But
I'm literally gonna have to watch it over from season 1 when the last season drops, just to even have a thought and be up to what's going on in Stranger Things anymore, because it's been so long. Which is sad. Like, if it would have kept at the pace like Cobra Kai did, it would have been perfect.
Yeah, then you don't have like the teenagers aging out like entirely. Like some of the, like Kenny was the only funny one because he went from being like literally looking like a small kid to all of a sudden he was like he was bigger than a lot of the other kids.
Yeah.
But yeah, most of them at least like stayed looking about the same age, so it wasn't like a huge deal.
It's not like they're 30 and married with children now, like on Stranger Things.
I mean that's the problem when you film stories with kids, man. They get old fast. They grow tall fast.
Like literally every single one of them, except for that one kid on Stranger Things who still looks like a kid. But for the most part, like the girl who plays 11 is married. and everything else now. And it's kind of like, when the hell? Like, she's still 11 to me, you know?
Yeah. Well, they're in high school. But I mean, hey, we're going back to our roots because if you remember, like back, in the day, every teenage show was, 25-year-old actors like on 90210 or whatever going through it. So it's the same
Dudes
concept.
had
Really.
receded hairlines in high school, bro.
Yeah, exactly. So we're just going back to our roots.
Dude, I love it though. That's the good stuff right there. All right, Ben, what's coming up for you and where can people find you?
Yeah, so I mean, social media, it's at BD Murkison, keeping it simple. On X and on Instagram. You can follow my adorable Star Wars named dog, TK42 Woof, also on Instagram.
I love it.
Yeah. Got I'll pop up on Socially Distance podcasts, periodically when they invite me on to talk about some stuff.
Same.
Probably get maybe another one in, before the end of the year here as they talk through some of these Christmas topics, or I'm sure there'll be something to come up on soon. And yeah, like I said, I got to write about the Dexter, prequel series that's coming out later this month. Super excited about that one. That might be the first thing that I write. I've got some other stuff. I'm not sure if I'll have anything come out, but like I said, we've been watching a lot of football and I haven't had as much time for streaming some of these great shows that have been out. So I'm looking forward.
Dude, and there's so many. And next 2025 opens up with a plethora of really good shows. It's ridiculous.
It's overwhelming in a good way because whenever I have a lull, football season is going to end, in another month or two, and then I'm going to have nothing else to watch. So I'm going to go back.
You
and
get to
catch up on all the good
go
stuff.
and binge all the good stuff, man. That's
Exactly.
what's up. But appreciate you, Ben. All right, everybody, for USDN, tune in this Saturday because we're going to take a long walk down the Witches Road at a special start time of 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. That's 10:30 Central. Also, tomorrow, I'll be releasing USDN Short, episode 11 for New Comic Book Day for the week of 11 December. I want to thank everybody for tuning in and watching. Say a big thank you to Ben, the Socially Distance, and the Pop Break. Special thank you goes out to DFPN as always for allowing me a platform to do what I do, and I appreciate and love them for it. As always, we appreciate your feedback. So tell us what you enjoyed or didn't enjoy or what we can do better over here at USDN. As always, please hit that like, subscribe, and share button. And on behalf of myself, Ben, and the Council of Nerds, this show is USDN approved.